Hello and good morning. It's Phil Thatch and I'm here today on a day that's supposed to be filled with rain. There should be lots of rain coming later today, and I've decided to ride around in the Harrison Bay area. I haven't entered the park proper just yet, but I'm trying to get some bird photography done this morning before the rain comes. And then this evening I'm doing basketball. I think I'm doing 3 basketball games at my daughter's school. So lots of photography today. Here I'm using the D500 and the 500 f4. I have the 1.4 teleconverter on, so I'm getting lots of range, and I'll put the math on the screen for how much range that is. I think it's 1,050 millimeters, something like that. And then just in case I see some deer, so you need less range for that, I have the Z6 and the 200 to 500. So here's 200 to 500 millimeters, and here is 1,050, I think, millimeters of effective focal length. And right over here there's some reeds, some cattails coming up out of the water, and some foliage. And I actually came to this location because this is where David Sailors and I saw the bufflehead a couple of weeks ago. No bufflehead today, but I did see some songbirds. And you know, making photographs of songbirds in this situation, even though I'm in the car, is still way more difficult than the photography blind at home, which you may have seen in some of my other videos where you can get really, really close. These birds don't get as close, so it's the difficulty level is higher if you're doing it this way than baiting the birds in with seeds. So it's difficult to get good results this way, and you need a little bit more power too. So I'm going to work on it. I'm going to hang around here a little bit more and then go to Harrison Bay State Park like I always do, or often do. Camping Area C is where I usually go, and follow along. Maybe we'll see something cool. Here is a male northern cardinal, and today ended up being a really good day for northern cardinal photography, but I'm about to get sidetracked. I had no intention of doing any landscape photography this morning, but just before I pulled out of this area where David and I saw the bufflehead a couple weeks ago, I looked over in this area over here that I'm walking towards now, and there's a bunch of cypress trees here, which when the water is up, it's wintertime now, it's late January, when the water's up, there's the lake there, Chickamauga Lake, but when the water's up, these trees are slightly underwater, and the place I'm walking is the very edge of the lake. And I walked over here because these trees look really cool, because the bases of these trees are just beautiful. And I walked around a little bit over here, and I think I may have found a composition. So I went and back to the car and took the 200 to 500 off of the Z6, and I got my tripod and put the 24 to 70 on there. And I'm gonna see if I can frame this thing up, and we'll see how it turns out. So this is the first cypress photograph I made that morning, and I kind of like this. It's okay, but things are definitely going to get better in a little bit. I've made 2 photos already here in this cypress area, and I think I found a couple more, or at least one more composition that I'm going to work on. This one that I just did, the second one, is a pretty cool shot. I'll show you the composition now. The large cypress tree there in the center is my main subject, and I've got it kind of rule of thirdsy over to the left. There's that cool looking piece of driftwood back there, behind it slightly to the right, and then several more cypress trees. So I really like this composition. I shot it at f11 ISO 100, 1/4 of a second. Here's the second photo, and I like this one better than the first one, but it seems like there's still something missing. And so let's keep working and see if we can find it. And now I'm going to see if I can find a composition over in this direction. The water's been down long enough, and this winter's been kind of warm, although this week is not warm, to where there's starting to be some grass and things growing here where normally there's water, which might add some color to the shot. I went back to the car and got a little bit more camera gear, and the car you know, I guess I'm 75 yards and in the woods away from the car, and the car had 4 camera bags worth of gear unlocked, so that wasn't very smart. And I went back and I got a jacket because it was getting cold, and I got my camera bag with the 70 to 210 push-pull, because I think I'm going to use it to kind of try to compress this a little bit on this next composition. Switching to the telephoto lens, I thought really helped the composition out quite a bit with the compression that you get. And also the light got a little bit better, so there's some directional light which gives these 2 photographs I'm showing you now some depth. This is basically the same composition, just slightly changed, and I couldn't decide which one I like, so I gave you both of them. Well, the focus of today's video has definitely shifted. See what I did there? I had every intention of doing nothing but wildlife photography today, and then I saw these Cypress, and I'm glad I was carrying all my gear. I was glad I was carrying my landscape photography gear, as David coined the phrase when we were getting ready for our collaboration a couple weeks ago, rolling heavy. 4 camera bags worth of stuff, because you never know what you might see and what you might decide you want to work on. And I'm continuing to work on these cypress trees. It's really overcast today, as you can see, but the sun is definitely coming in from that direction, I think. And so it's given me a little bit of depth on these trees where there's more light on one side than the other, so the light's not extremely flat. You know, I wish it was maybe just a little bit less cloudy, but I'm glad it's some cloudy, otherwise the light would be too harsh. So I'm going to keep working. I'm continuing to make a few. Look, my rig is over here in the middle of the forest, and I'm going to keep working on some shots. I just can't say enough about this 70 to 210 millimeter push-pull. You know, of course, it's not doing anything that I couldn't do with my 70 to 200 f2.8 VR2, but it's lighter in my bag. It's easier to carry. I really like working with it. If I had one complaint, it's if I turn a circular polarizer on the front, it will adjust the focus sometimes. So that's kind of a pain, but this morning I'm not using a polarizer, so I'm not experiencing that problem. Let's find some more compositions. Look at all the colors in this photograph. You've got the cinnamony color of the cypress trees and the green grass below, and then there's lichen growing on the upper parts of the cypress trees, which gives it that beautiful blue-gray color. A nice combination. I'm down low now. Just made a shot. I made this same shot twice, but I lowered the tripod for the second one, and I think it really improved it. The composition is just a low shot of not even all of that tree trunk, like some of the left is cut off, and then that one and that one. And there's all these deadfall branches that kind of fill in the space on the right-hand side of the composition that otherwise might have been kind of empty and bland. And I really like it. I'm so glad I wandered over here this morning. So here's that up-close photograph of the tree trunks that I was talking about just a moment ago. I love how this one turned out, and even at f11 the focus trails off. I made a shot also of this really unusual looking cypress tree. The base of it has that unusual growth on it. There's a stream that runs into the lake right here in the middle of the cypress forest. I'm not sure, without falling or getting soaked, if I'm going to be able to cross it, but there are, on the other side, there's more cypress compositions to explore sometime when I'm wearing my all-weather boots. Maybe I'm not riding quite heavy enough. I kind of second-guessed myself on this composition of those 3 trees that I showed you a moment ago. I was at 90 millimeters before, and I redid it at 70 millimeters, so none of the left side of the most forward tree was cut off. And I think I may like the 70 millimeter version better. So I'm glad I didn't just pick up my stuff and roll, because that may be the photo of the day, I'm not sure. So here's that composition that's very similar to the previous one. This one you can see more of the blue-gray lichen-colored upper parts of the trees, so that is a plus. Well, today kind of shows you how my preferences of photography have changed over the last year. Several years prior to a year ago, my number one most favorite type of photography was wildlife. That's what I lived for. That's what I wanted to do every off day that I wasn't spending time with my daughter or my girlfriend. I wanted to come and do wildlife photography. And now, you know, I came out today with every intention of doing wildlife photography, but I saw a landscape opportunity, and maybe landscape's my new favorite because I saw the opportunity and immediately switched gears. However, I think I've kind of done all I can do, kind of run out of ideas in this cypress forest. So I'm going to go and back to plan A and go to Harrison Bay State Park, which while I'm in Harrison Bay, and technically I guess I'm on Harrison Bay State Park property, I haven't entered the actual entrance and gone to the spot I was planning on going to. So shifting gears again, let's go look for some birds. I'm arriving now at Harrison Bay State Park Camping Area C. It's just up here on the left. And my only concern is, you know, I would have been here right at prime time bird viewing, but now it's 10 o'clock because of my landscape photography sidetrack. So I'm hoping that there's some birds out. I'm probably gonna, I don't know, maybe stay here till noon, give it a couple hours. You know, you can't just pull up and instantly get bird photos. There's a lot of patience involved, and I've got time. I need to get home by around noon, have some lunch, and maybe take a nap before tonight's basketball photography extravaganza. But I'll give this a couple of hours. I've been rolling through Harrison Bay State Park for about an hour now, looking for wildlife to photograph, and I did see a one red-headed woodpecker, which is kind of what you come here for this time of year. No deer, not a single one. Did not get the red-headed woodpecker photograph, but I did get a couple of not so great female downy woodpecker shots, and probably the best wildlife photo was of a ring-billed gull swimming around near the marina. Okay, so this is the female downy woodpecker I was talking about that I got at Harrison Bay State Park Camping Area C. It was really a struggle during this part of the morning, and I left Camping Area C, and this is the ring-billed gull photograph that was near the marina in the lake. And just as I was about to throw in the towel, well, it's about 30 minutes since that last clip, and I was actually kind of saying goodbye in the last clip, but during the clip I saw some pretty decent bird activity, so I kind of got back into bird photography mode, and now I've got a red-headed woodpecker shot. So all's well that ends well, and I'm back in Camping Area C now. Got my hat on backwards, you can tell. That means that I've been putting the camera to my face. Last winter around this time, I was seeing 5 and 6 red-headed woodpeckers at Camping Area C at the same time. This year I'm only seeing this one juvenile. There's a light rain that has started. It's supposed to kind of rain all afternoon. As you can see, looking through the windshield, it's definitely raining now. I just ran across a bunch, maybe 20, maybe 10 little chipping sparrows, and the car spooked them as I slow rolled up to them, but I was able to get a picture of one I think that may turn out okay. I could be mistaken about this, but it seems like chipping sparrows are smaller than other sparrows. I don't know if that's right, but it sure seemed tiny on this day. This rain kind of alters the birds' behavior a little bit. They kind of settle down a little more. There's lots of birds on the ground up here to the left, in the kind of digging around in the gravel. See if I can get a picture. I was able to get really, really close to this male northern cardinal. You can see the raindrops beating up on its feathers. I was pretty much at or very close to the minimum focus distance of my VR500 f4G lens with the 1.4 teleconverter. It made it where I could really fill the frame with the beautiful big red cardinal. Well, when it rains, that's not always time to put the camera up. Sometimes that's the time to get your camera out. Definitely got some chipping sparrow photographs, very tiny. I mean, just unbelievable how tiny those birds are. I got some a cardinal photo or two, and I even got a little bit of video. I got the Z6 and the 200 to 500 and hung it out the window for a second and got some cardinal video. Nothing spectacular, just a cardinal bouncing around on the ground in some gravel. Same thing with the chipping sparrow. I saw a bird that I'm not quite sure what it is. I think it might be a dark-eyed junco, but the coloring is different than I'm used to, so not really sure. And I don't know if I got an acceptable picture of it either. I think I'm going to do what I plan to do and stay here till 12. So let's keep working. Rolled around camping area C all the way until about 5 minutes till 12. Got lots of fairly acceptable pictures, I think, including a white-breasted nuthatch, which I'm really happy to have gotten a picture of that because that's one of Heather's favorite birds. Here is the white-breasted nuthatch. You see these a lot, and they have a really distinctive sound that they make, so I hear them all the time. It's difficult for me to get a photograph of them. Some of my friends get great photographs of them all the time, and usually when you see them, they're upside down on a tree, but the first couple of acceptable pictures I was able to get were right side up, and this is more of the traditional way that you'll see white-breasted nuthatches in photographs. They just always tend to be upside down. Here's another northern cardinal. I got two photographs very similar, one where it's looking right at you and another one it's looking away a little bit. And it's interesting, these cardinal photographs, in order to get the color to look anywhere near right, you actually have to reduce saturation. If you leave it at 0, it looks oversaturated. And even though these have been reduced, they still look a little oversaturated. And here is one last white-breasted nuthatch photograph. Really love this bird, and I'm thrilled to get a picture of it because Heather likes them quite a bit. And now we'll call it a day from Harrison Bay State Park. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.